Hello everybody, my name is Raxef and welcome to This Week in Warcraft for the week of October 17th. We've got a couple of really cool events coming up that I can't wait to talk about, so let's jump into the video. First up, the PvP Brawl Packed House is happening this week. For those who don't know, Packed House is a 15 versus 15 arena-based deathmatch, so you'd queue up for it the same way that you would queue up for a random 2v2 or 3v3 arena. However, you're going to be placed into an arena with 14 other people and versing an enemy team of 15, and the last team standing wins. So I've not actually played this type of PvP Brawl before. I don't really do much PvP in general, and when I do, it's random battlegrounds. However, I'm actually really looking forward to taking some time and trying out this deathmatch mode, because I think it's more of my style. I'm not a huge fan of objective-based PvP events. They can be fun to do something different, but if I'm going to be PvPing, I ultimately just want to focus on getting other players. So this type of PvP Brawl, I feel like is going to be really up my alley. Next up, the Mythic Plus affixes for this week are Teaming, Quaking, and Fortified. Teaming is pretty simple. All it means is that there's going to be additional enemies throughout the dungeon, and your kill requirement for those enemies is going to increase. This particular affix shouldn't really pose any type of problem. In my opinion, it's one of the easiest affixes to deal with. All you really need to have is a tank who knows how to maneuver around the additional enemies, making sure not to pull more than they can handle. With Quaking, players are going to be taking periodic damage equal to 20% of their max health, and when they do take that damage, it'll also interrupt their spell casting, as well as the spell casting of those around them. So for this particular affix, spreading out is very, very important so that you don't mess up your healers or your allied DPS who are ranged. For melee, it's not that big of an issue. Just make sure that you're not accidentally near a healer. If perhaps the mobs and the dungeon group are grouped in tightly, you're going to want to make sure that all of you are pretty far spread out from each other, but not too far so that you aggro other enemy mobs. And lastly, we have Fortified, which means that non-boss enemies have more health and they deal 30% more damage. So first of all, if an enemy has a spell that can be interrupted, you should absolutely interrupt it because it will be doing more damage. And don't be afraid of using your cooldowns to take down groups of enemies quickly. You will be spending more of your time in dungeons fighting non-boss enemies compared to the bosses. So like I said, don't be afraid to use your cooldowns, use your AoE to burst them all down. Since teaming is also an affix, you're going to want to be very careful not to pull additional enemies. However, if you have a fairly competent tank, this shouldn't be an issue at all. Next up, we finally have Burning Crusade Timewalking coming back. So along with Outland Dungeon Timewalking, what this event also brings back is the Black Temple Timewalking Raid. Queuing for a Timewalking Raid works a little bit differently than queuing for an LFR. First, you're going to want to form a raid of 10 to 30 people, and then the raid leader needs to travel to Shatrath physically, and then speak to an NPC called Vormu in order to queue up for the Timewalking raid. There is a quest that you can pick up which will award you 500 time-warped badges for defeating Illidan, so be sure you get that before entering the raid. What makes this raid special is that besides the normal Timewalking loot that you'd be able to get from dungeons, if you have looted both Warglaives of Azzinoth on any character on your account, and you defeat Illidan in the Timewalking raid, you will be awarded with a special Demon Hunter only transmoggable appearance that does resemble both Warglaives of Azzinoth. So that's pretty cool if you, say, have collected the Warglaives on a warrior or a rogue, and you want to get a very cool appearance for your new Demon Hunter. If you haven't collected them yet, then it's not that big of a deal, but I would still recommend that you do this Timewalking raid because it is pretty cool given the fact that you are scaled down and it does become a little bit more of a challenge. Wowhead has a pretty good guide that covers this raid, so I'm going to be linking to it in the description down below. And last but not least, one of my favorite events in World of Warcraft, the Hallows End Event, is going to be starting October 18th. Now I'm going to be making a separate video on this subject entirely, so I'll briefly touch on it here. During this event, various parts of Azeroth are going to be decked out Halloween style. Players are going to have the chance to earn everything from toys, to pets, to transmoggable armor, and even a rare mount. What I particularly like about this event, besides the aesthetic, is that there's something for every kind of player. Whether you like collecting a rare mount, or you really like collecting all the toys, or you're a big pet collector, or you like transmogging, you're going to find something that you're interested in getting during this event, and that way you don't feel left out like some players might on other events. Like I said, I don't want to talk too much about this event because I could probably go on for several minutes regarding it, and I want to save that for a video later this week, so be sure to keep an eye out for that. And that's going to do it with This Week in Warcraft. I'm really interested in hearing how you're going to be spending your week. Are you excited for the Timewalking event and to get back into the Black Temple? Are you really, really looking for the Hallows End Event, which will last throughout the rest of the month, or perhaps you don't really care about either of those and you'd just rather be doing some PvP. Also, let me know if you happen to get any of your pets to level 25 from the bonus event last week. And those are all the major events happening this week in Warcraft. I'm really excited for this week because there are a lot of events that are happening that I'm really looking forward to, so let me know in the comment section down below if you're looking forward to anything in particular. Maybe you don't care about the Halloween event at all and you really just want to get into the PvP Brawl and start doing some team deathmatch, or maybe you just want to get back into the Black Temple and get that new transmoggable appearance for the Warglaives of Azzinoth. Either way, let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys have planned for this week. If you like this video, then of course, give it a thumbs up. And if you like my channel, of course, feel free to subscribe. With that being said, I hope to see you guys in the next video. See you later.